What's up? Nick Hilton here, and in this video I'm giving you a secret tip to really make your subjects pop out of the image. All right, now usually with my highlight slideshow images and my portfolio images, I will go into Photoshop and I will do some different layers and masking and really try to accentuate what I'm trying to show in the image. But I found a really cool way for all of the other images that I deliver to really make my subjects stand out, and it's very, very simple. So there's obvious ways of getting our subjects to stand out in the image. Focus, using a shallow depth of field, putting them in the brightest spot of the image, making them the brightest part of the image, silhouetting them, making everything else really bright and them really dark. But our eyes are also drawn to color and contrast. So if we have our subjects being the most contrasty part of the image, we can make them pop even a little bit more. So if we jump into Lightroom right here, I've got this image, and now this is the before. So I've already done most of my raw processing, and I do have, you can see, I do have a radial filter already on this. So as of right now, my subject is the brightest part of the image. Even like this, there's still some good attention on them because I used a shallow depth of field. They've got really good light on their face. And then I've added the radial filter, kind of darkened everything else down. But there's a way I can pop them out just a little bit more. And I'm going to be using an adjustment brush. Now, a lot of you are probably about to click out and you're like, oh, he's gonna just dodge them up. He's gonna dodge them up, or he's gonna burn down the background. No, I do that sometimes, but we're actually gonna use a brush that I created based off of a workflow that I use inside of Photoshop with masking and layers, except we're just gonna do it with the simple brush. So I've created the Add Subject Contrast brush. It's very simple, and it's not super secret. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I do. I've bumped up the exposure 0.4. I have bumped the highlights up to 17, shadows down 23, whites up 23, blacks down 11. Use these settings, but sometimes you might have to make small adjustments once you've brushed it on. A lot of times I notice if it blows out like a white part, I'll tone down the whites just a little bit. If it blows out a black or clips of black, I'll just move it in. All right. And then this is kind of important. Feather is on 70, flow 30, and then density 100. Again, use those settings. And now what I'm gonna do is I have this brush a little bit smaller than her face. I don't want it to be really, really big because I don't want to affect the background. I have the high feather rate, so that way it'll barely kind of fade into the background and it won't make hard lines, but we really don't want it on the background as much as possible. So I'm gonna make it just a little bit smaller than her face, and I'm gonna kind of just start going in circles like this, starting with the forehead, coming down, and then I'll spend a little less time down here, but still get some down here, and then I'll go back up to make sure that there's the most brush strokes, since it's a lower flow, on the face. And then I will do the same onto his face, kind of start up here, and then I will get some of his suit in there as well. And again, down here, I'm doing a little bit lighter, less repetition, because with a lower flow, the more repetition, the harder the brush is. All right. And now with this, we can see that their faces did get a little bit brighter. So I'm gonna click my minus key and bump down the exposure just barely. And actually, I don't really like that. I like it more like this. And so let's see what that did. We can see with the brush on and then off. When I was doing the brush, you didn't really notice the change, but now that you see it without that add contrast brush and then with, you can see just how much they really pop out of that image. And again, if it's a little bit too much for you, we can lower those highlights just barely, and then say we wanted to darken some of those darks a little bit more, we could lower our shadows, lower those shadows, and then just like that. I am very happy with how that looks. Once again, let's look at it without and with. And that's it. It's a very, very simple way to add that final pop to your subjects. I find myself using this all the time, and hopefully this helps. All right, we will see you in the next video.